Good morning, Miss Evelyn. Is that you? I can't hear you. Evelyn, can you hear me? Let's see if my volume is up. Okay. Trying to make sure my volume is up. So, can you hear me, Evelyn?
Yeah, Donovan, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you, because I'm not sure if, thank you for saying something so much. I'm like, oh, am I in the world or not? Thank you. I'm going to grab coffee, and I'll put myself back on mute.
Get out of bed.
I'm not in bed. I've been up. I just need more coffee.
But y'all, get to work. Get started on your other stuff. I'm sure it's posted.
Let me hear. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'd like to call to order the Antioch Mountain Board of Education. And this time, Robbie Davis, Chairman of the Nash County Board of Commissioners, I'd like to call all boards together also. Thank you. I will at this time entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion moved by Mr. Bishop, seconded by me. Motion carried. This time we will start with architect interviews.
Hey, Ken, Franklin, were you able to confirm that you have a quorum? I'm sorry.
LS3P.
This
one.
Okay, it ain't gonna click. Okay.
Good, thank you.
Yeah. He's asking Franklin a question.
Oh, hold up.
So while we're getting the PowerPoints or whatever you call it set up, kind of give you a little bit of the format. Once we get started, we're sticking to a pretty tight 1 hour schedule. We can get through this today. So the first 15 minutes will be for you to answer those 2 questions that we posed to you. We'll go through that. If you need the 15 minutes, it's yours. If you need less, yield it back. We appreciate it. And then once we get through that little first segment, we have a barrage of questions that we'll go through to you from the panel that's sitting up here. So we'll try and get that. We'll try and get through all of our questions in time.
Some wipes down for that.
Okay. Any questions for us before we start? Thank you. And I will say, with this being a virtual meeting, everything is done at the podium for you guys. And so if one of you has something to say, I will ask that you make sure you step up to the mic so it can be heard by us and all of our listeners. Good morning. It's yours. Go ahead.
Thank you.
It's for the benefit of presenters. It may be best if we tell them who we are.
Yeah, we just assumed you know who we are. So let's start around the table.
Franklin Lamb, Board Chair.
I'm Chris Bissett, Nash Rocky Mountain School Board District 4.
And I'm Robbie Davis, Chairman of the Nash County Board of Commissioners.
Wayne Outlaw, Vice Chairman of the Nash County Board of Commissioners.
Shannon Davis, Director of Maintenance, Nash Rocky Mountain Schools.
Yes, sir. Well, my name's Paul Boney. I'm a 3rd generation architect in North Carolina, doing schools for all the time that I've been practicing architecture. Today, our discussion will center around the 2 questions that you asked about. The prototype will fit on the site. We'll show you about that and the strategy for building that prototype within the budget. Our firm has been Go ahead.
1 second, we're trying.
Yeah, we're getting this up. Can I use the
Working on the
PowerPoint?
PowerPoint. Sorry.
Can I use the PowerPoint?
Technology glitch.
Yeah. No, it's not a
That's
glitch.
better.
Yeah, the PowerPoint is better. All right.
So Franklin or Chris, can you hear me?
There we go.
Are there other members of the board, both boards on the virtual?
Yes.
Frank,
Well, hello, everyone. Sorry, I can't see.
this is good practice. Hey, can you ask them to stop? There's no volume for the people who are watching.
Okay.
PowerPoint.
There we go. All right, say something.
Rod, can you hear me now? Rod?
Yeah, so can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Okay, so Franklin, are you there?
Yes.
All right. Did you, I don't establish a quorum to the extent that this is a board meeting. I only see 5 people. I see Donovan, Reggie, Ricky was there a minute ago, and then you and Chris. So it doesn't mean we can't go forward with the interviews, but this is just not officially a meeting of any kind at this point, to the extent that this was a board meeting.
Ms. Washington was on and so was Evelyn Bullock a moment ago. And then the screen flashed when he started making the presentation, so I can't see them.
Okay, so, LaShonda has just sent a text that she's on. Okay, so I do think, just Franklin, if you could, for the sake of the minutes, maybe establish who is remotely participating. I defer to Robbie on his board, but at least as to your board, if we're going to show this as a board meeting, can we make sure we've got a quorum?
Can Tremaine see who's on?
Yes, I can.
Tell us who's on.
Everybody was on but Ian
And Link.
Lane, there were 2 not on.
Yes.
We called it to order. We had everybody.
We had-
online.
We had 9 members present.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And we can add some time to LS3P's presentation. And there was no volume once the PowerPoint started. So if we could start over with the beginning of the PowerPoint, that would be
Okay,
great.
we're gonna have a do-over here, Rod.
All right, perfect. All right, thank
Yeah,
you.
we can practice.
All right, good deal. Thank you
Yeah.
all. All right, I'm gonna mute myself now and just listen.
No,
I
no.
got you.
Okay, but you can hear me now, Rod, right?
Absolutely, can hear you perfectly fine.
All right, well, let's go back.
All right.
Okay, so Ellis. All right. So, as I said, our discussion today is going to focus on the 2 questions y'all asked, but just as a little background to this, our firm has been in business a long time. My grandfather actually started our firm back in 1922. So it's almost been 100 years since we've been doing schools in and around North Carolina. We have a staff of about 350 people. They're all working remotely now. So we have 350 offices, but we've done over 2,000 educational projects. We've worked in over 80 of the 100 counties, and we have a history of service to Nash County schools, Nash Rocky Mountain. We did the Nashville Elementary School, the Red Oak Middle School, which is the sister project to the elementary school that you're going to build. We did the middle school, and Nash Central High School. Next. With me today is, of course, I'm the K-12 practice leader. Catherine Peel is the principal in charge. Catherine has been in charge of those projects that you just saw on the screen for Nash Rocky Mountain Schools, and Mary Brayler would be our project manager. Catherine Peel is the closest thing I have to a sister. And we've been working together since she was in middle school, because it's been almost 32 years. So I'm going to turn it over to Catherine now.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. It's great to be back in Nash County. And as Paul mentioned, I headed up the projects some years back, including high school and Red Oak Middle School. We got up in front of you the rest of our team for this project. Well, I'm not going to go through all the names that's in your proposal, but these are all consultants that we've worked with for many years. So, the criteria for this new prototype, we know that you want to have 850 to 900 students, $20 million construction budget, including design fees, 1-story, masonry veneer, and that you prefer sloping roofs, preferably standing seam. So Mary and I spent the last 3 or 4 days, we went through all of our prototypes, our elementary prototypes, to see what's going to be the best fit here. We know from the state, from Department of Public Instruction, the square footage for a school of this size is around 107,000 square feet. Now you're going to keep your gym, so that's going to save you some square footage. So we're going to be able to get this down to around 100,000 square feet or a little less. So that's where we started, and we really wanted to look at what's going to be the best fit and the most economical project that we can put on this site. So we also knew that we needed to have a very efficient floor plan, a footprint. The buildable area is not large. Having connectivity to that existing gym, and thinking about this design being in harmony with Red Oak Middle School, you're going to be able to see these 2 schools together. We know we want to go with a very efficient structural system, and we need to keep the elementary school open during construction. So with all of that, after we tested about 10 different plans, we came back to a prototype that we've done 6 times. And this was actually designed originally for Wake County Schools, along with the middle school that is your Red Oak Middle. So this is the sister school to Red Oak. And so surprisingly, it was the best fit. And so we said, well, gosh, this makes a whole lot of sense because the architecture is very similar to on these 2 schools. And again, they were designed together in the first place. As I mentioned, we've constructed this school 6 times, so it's a time-tested prototype for us. So at this point, I want to have Mary walk through the floor plan of this prototype.
Good morning, everyone. So as Catherine said, this prototype seemed to just fit. It's an efficient plan. We've got one of clear observation points. There's a single entry point, and also allowed for those core pieces to be right there at the entry, and perhaps allowed for the school to be closed down in the evenings and community use of these spaces. So this is a phasing diagram. One of the most important things we know, because this will be an occupied campus, is safety for the students first. So what we're proposing, I hope everybody can see that, is the new school will be to the rear of the existing school. We're proposing a construction fence that completely isolates that to the rear of the site, bringing all traffic for construction in off the school road, and all staging and trailers in the laydown area behind that. Everything in our plan for the existing campus will remain open, including parking and the gym and everything else during the construction.
Just to orient you, the Red Oak Road you can see on the left, and the existing school is there at the bottom of the screen. So again, you can see
In the yellow.
in the yellow. Yeah, so the existing facilities, existing parking in the yellow.
So we looked at the schedule just briefly, and we think if we get the programming complete by June, that we can have an early site package September, followed by the construction documents in December, and and then for occupancy in fall of 2022, bidding in early February of next year. So some of the other things with regard to the site plan, this is a real, as Catherine stated, a compact footprint. We're leaving all of the existing fields intact, and we are providing a new elementary school play field for the younger kids. For security, the front entry is visible from Red Oak Road. We have been able to orient this in such a way that we gain optimal solar orientation. As you can see, there's direct connection to the gym, especially for the little kids. And we just think it's a great fit for this site.
We also have separate bus and car parking and queuing areas. So we're separating the buses from the cars, and we have adequate stacking and queuing for the parents for the morning and afternoon pick up and drop off.
So we did a rendering. You can see that Red Oak Middle School is in the north end of the rendering, but we just think it's a great fit. Goes with the community and also the architecture. This is the sloping metal roofs with the brick veneer, and this is ultimately the final layout after the old school is demolished.
So how are we going to get to 20 million? That's the big question here. And I know that's on everyone's mind here. We have the Red Oak Elementary School will need to be under $200 a square foot in order to do that, including design fees. The benefit of the existing roads and some infrastructure will help us. We don't know whether the COVID-19 impacts to construction are going to be known yet. We did have a high school that was bid and it came in about 12 million under the budget about 2 weeks ago. So people are thinking about that. So how are we going to get to 20 million? Well, the first thing is everything you talk about and everything you think about is 20 million. And that's the goal. That's what we think about every time we have a meeting. We cannot have any might as well do that while we're here. We can't have any, oh, well, boy, that'd be a good idea. We have to stay focused on that budget. And that's what we did with these three projects that are on the screen. And you can see what those numbers ended up to be. The Stanley Middle School actually is very similar to this in that we had an existing school that we had to tear down and keep in, we had to keep it in operation while we built a new middle school. We would use light gauge, load bearing structural steel probably. We would look at pre-engineered buildings. And that's the beauty of this building is it lends itself to some of that type of thought process. Because if you keep the structure very, very simple, it translates into saving money. First cost versus life cycle cost. We want to do the energy efficiency, but we know that packaged DX units are $15 to $17 a square foot versus $32 for a four-pipe system. Also, we would use alternate bids, and we would look at those as we go along and keep up with those alternates.
Yeah, I wanted to just show this project. It's just right up the road here. It's the Kent Charter School. It's Gaston College Prep. And this is a school that we did a few years back that had a very, very tight budget. And again, we approached this as more pre-engineered systems, looking at this as individual components that had small connectors, and it really made for a very, very efficient cost per square foot. We also recently did a project in Wilmington called Glow Academy. This is also a charter school. This is the Girls Leadership of Wilmington, I had to get those words out, project. And again, it's a series of pre-engineered buildings in a campus setting. And again, got us down to $175 a square foot. But as you can see, it's just a really nice project and really nice architecture. Cost estimating, we know that we're going to have to be doing this continuously, early and often, to keep up with where the market is. And again, to ensure, as Paul said, that we keep this project under $20 million. But at the end of the day, we still are very passionate about designing for young students. And so regardless of, even if we get to a very economical cost per square foot, we can bring in color, we can bring in patterns. Paint is cheap. We can make this look really beautiful for the kids. You know, it's important to have color and light in these schools, and to also bring in things like patterns and graphics so that the kids can orient to where they are in the school. Again, this is vinyl tile and paint, and it really can make a huge difference in what the look is. But at the end of the day, we want to provide engaging learning environments for these students, and we know how to do that. Many, many years of experience in designing for young children. So I think we're getting close to our 15 minutes, and I'm gonna let Paul wrap it up.
Thank you, Catherine. So these are some final thoughts that I would like for y'all to just take away from our presentation, at least the part that we've been able to do so far. Is that we do have almost 100 years of experience doing K-12 projects in North Carolina. We have great expertise in site adapting prototypes. I think Catherine and I lost count, but we've done about 100 prototypes all over the state of North Carolina in various kinds, shapes. Never one was alike. That's what the prototype, you know, you think you're just going to plunk this thing down, but there are going to be unique things for y'all. We have a history with this school system, and we're very proud of that. The main thing you get out of our presentation is we are school architects, and budget and schedule are not a suggestion, because we are passionate about school design, but we are also passionate about being in the money on bid day, because if you're not, everybody's mad. And we just don't want that. And we want to be sure that that is our legacy here, is keeping the thing in the budget. No matter, and one thing, I take abuse pretty well from people, you know. I'm chairman of the planning commission at home, so I have to. But the other thing is, we need to make sure that we keep this thing in the budget so that this project goes forward in a really, really positive way. And I believe this prototype is the way to go, because it was designed to be next to Red Oak Middle School. It was born that way. And I believe that we have a feel for how the architecture will be. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So now we're going to kind of go through our questions. Not sure who wants to answer which one, so we'll make it work. You go from there. So if you will, Mr. Davis, we'll let you start off.
Yes, you spoke briefly in your presentation about a timetable. Could you elaborate just a little bit more on your estimated timetable for this project, when you would start to when it would?
Sure, we're hopefully its programming is done by June. We anticipate that we have an early site package by September. Finish up the construction documents in December. That releasing it and having a bid February next year. And then we would have full occupancy in fall of 2022.
And one of those things, you know, these are trying times, but the technology works. And so any of those meetings that we could not have in person, we would propose that we go ahead and do them just like this. our design team and your folks. And that way we could get that programming done by June and start on Monday working on this thing. Because, 2022 sounds like a long way away, but it's not when you're building a building like this. So we've done this before, and we know what it takes to get something like this done.
Okay. So does your firm provide services that would help the school system decide our educational and other spaces and design related to the DPI space profiles? And if you do offer that, is there an additional cost for that?
No, there's not. That's part of what we typically do, is that we compare the DPI standards to your program. The thing that's custom in each area is things like your exceptional children's program. And so we need to understand, what that is and what children you're serving and what the particular issues are. And we also need to understand about pre-K, whether you're going to provide that or not and how many classes. So even though there's a state standard, it's always customized for your local programs accordingly.
It's actually, and it's a state recommendation,
Yeah.
that we would incorporate into the conversations with y'all, keeping in mind the might as well rule, that we have to, we're going to be pretty tough about that because we need to be, and we need to stay on that budget and that type of thing. When I was a little kid, I used to ride up to Raleigh with my dad, and there was one person at school planning, and he would sign off on the drawing, and then we go back on. Since that time, we have had a great relationship with them, and we are able to sit down with them, get things done quickly, and also with the Department of Insurance. We actually did their building in Raleigh that they moved into. We have good relationships with all of those people. The trick will be getting the site, those site permits, and getting the topo. We would order that Monday if you don't already have it. We would get the soil borings so we know what's underneath there, to know the cost of those foundations and that type of thing. So those are things we've already thought about that we would be calling Shannon. What's today, Wednesday? Well, if you pick us, we call him tomorrow, but it depends on how quickly. I know, but I mean, how quickly you're going to move forward too with the decision.
Next question is, what do you envision the top 2 or 3 most difficult issues with this project that you have to expect to deal with? Most difficult issues, the top 2 or 3 going into it.
Well, I'll start with Catherine and Mary. One of the things that I really think about is the communication between y'all and how we keep the commissioners informed, the school board informed, how we are able to be a catalyst for doing that, and how those graphics, how the presentations that we make for that. The other thing is keeping the community informed. How would we have these community meetings if you want to do that? How would we be out there showing them what it is we're doing? So there isn't any mystery about that. Catherine, anything?
Well, I would just say, we have seen a very expensive construction market the past few years. I'm sure y'all are aware of that. And again, we don't know what's going to happen with these recent events. So I think just staying on top of the market is going to be something that's going to be important to do. Not impossible, but it's something that we're going to need to have ears to the ground very closely and making sure that we're making good decisions about materials and systems. Will there be some shortages coming up or plants shutting down? What's the likelihood of getting steel? Those sorts of things we need to keep up with.
And I was just going to add to that, along those lines. So I just did 2 projects in Wake County. One came under $3 million under on bid day, the other $700,000. And I attribute a lot of that was just working closely with the contractor. I mean, I have great relationships with them, and I am hands-on as a project manager. And so you just have to work together, especially when you have a budget like this, to hear their ideas, they hear ours, And you come together and figure that out. And that's how I approached those two projects. And that's how we came in under budget.
You had mentioned in the mechanical systems, VX versus full pipe chiller boiler. Does your team have any experience with the VRF mechanical systems in your facilities?
Yeah, we do. We've actually done some in some student housing. We have not done them in a school that I know of, but we certainly have that experience in our mechanical engineering as well. So I think we're just super open to looking at any kind of system. Of course, energy efficiency, because you're going to be paying the bill for a lot of years. So we want to look at the first cost versus the life cycle cost and make some good decisions about the direction.
And we use a lot of that in various types of buildings that are done throughout the firm and our engineers. But the main thing is the life cycle cost analysis that we will do on the system. And we'll let y'all decide. We'll lay out those three systems and maybe more. Our first inclination is a 4-pipe system because I know it works. I know we do simultaneous heating and cooling within the building. I know that we can keep mold down and that type of thing, but it's the most expensive way to do it. And so, whether you use hydraulic heat pumps, the ground source water, all those things we are going to do intuitively, and we will present those to y'all, and we'll have a cost associated, and y'all can pay. But it's going to be a cost that's going to be balanced against the 20 million. That's what I'm saying. All of those things. And so those are the types of decisions we make with y'all.
So kind of piggyback on some of the first parts of that, how do you determine cost and how do you control that estimate?
We don't have an independent cost estimator on our team. And so at every phase of the project, it will be doing an estimate. So from schematics on, from those early concept drawings, we will have a rough order of magnitude. And as we get further into design, we hone that down. So from the very beginning, we need to understand up front. I mean, we would do an estimate early on, even what we have now at this square footage. And if we looked at this kind of structural system, this kind of mechanical system, where do you think we are? So it's got to be from the very beginning of the project.
The gentleman that we used was head of construction for Wake County Schools for a number of years. He went and was a contractor, worked for a contractor as an estimator, and now he works as an independent estimator, working for us, doing that, and that's the charge that we give him. We give him that budget, and then all those decisions funnel down, and we come to that, and we'll show you the detailed estimates, that design development, at every phase along the way, so that you can't just get to the end of the job and say, oh gosh, we got to whack out, 4 classrooms. And that's where alternates come in. That's where we're going to be realistic with you. And like I said, we deliver bad news early because that's the only way to be open and transparent about what we're going to do. Because we're going to have to work as a team with y'all in order to do that.
Been a contractor yourself, Mr. Boney, and his team. How do you handle the construction administration aspect of a project like this? Go over the details. That's where we're more involved from a local standpoint once you get that contract selected.
I could not agree with you more. In the design process, everybody's happy, right?
Yes, sir.
We're showing you all these colors and all these pretty pictures and all that. When you take bids, my dad, there were 3 partners, and my dad was the one who did it. And his sole job was to get things built. And so when I was little, that's what I used to do is for fun, is ride around with him and go to job sites and watch how he did things and watch how he worked with contractors and worked with people on the job. He used to say, Paul, we should take bids on the superintendent, not the contractor. Because, that's the most important part of this. But we grew up working with contractors as a team. Because as architects, we draw this stuff, but we don't build anything. And we have got to be reasonable. We have got to work with them as a team in order to get this thing built. So we have, we've got three or four people in Raleigh that do construction administration. Mary will be all over this job because she can't let it go, okay? And that's the way she did the 2 projects that she just finished, because she is very hands-on and likes it. But there's shop drawings that have to get done, timely answers. You know, I mean, it used to be my grandfather would do a school in the mountains. Some guy up there, you know, writes him a letter, licks the stamp, sends it down to Wilmington. He looks at it, smokes a couple of cigarettes, writes it back. You know, a week later, they got an answer, maybe. If I don't answer this phone within 15 minutes, you know, we got a problem, because everybody is used to the instantaneous stuff. Maybe Mary could talk about how she did it in Raleigh.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so we do, not offers, we have our own construction administration division. And I think the key part of that, and probably I'm a little aggressive about it, is that once construction starts, we maintain that relationship between the designer and the construction administration staff. So I'm hands-on, they're in the field, I'm in the field probably more than it should be, but and so maintaining that relationship keeps that seamless. It's not just handing it over, but we have a construction administration staff that is just dedicated to your project, and that's what they do. And they're in the field, I'm in the field, but yeah, it's a seamless operation from design to construction.
Just one thing I want to add is we have a software system called Newforma, and you may be familiar with that. So, and contractors have their own as well, but it really allows us to keep up with RFIs, pay applications, shop drawings, all in one system, and you as a client have access to that as well. So we find it just really communication.
What was the name of the software?
It's called Newforma, NEWFORMA. Contractors have Procore, there's other systems, so it's become pretty regular in the construction industry, but we've been at it for a long time, so we just think it really makes a lot of sense to keep all the files organized.
Yeah, and I was gonna say that's real time too. So we do everything through Newforma. So you all can have access to it. You can review submittals through there. So everything is real time, and everybody has access to it.
And also that timely information and that timely feedback for the contractor is really, really important. And keeping the school system and everybody informed about what's going on that job site is critical.
One follow-up question, what is the frequency of that person going to the job site?
Once a week, and at least, and generally, it depends on what they're doing. And you know, in the pouring foundations and that type of thing, it's more than that. Our contract, as Rod will tell you, says once a week, but we're there more than that.
And the contractors always have my cell phone.
And the contractors always have Mary's cell phone, and they use it. And we're glad they use it. But we're available, and like I told you, it was important enough that that's all my father did for our family back when we had 12 people. And so, you know, it's that important too.
Right.
Yes, can you not get too much in the weeds, but elaborate just a little bit as far as using a new design fee-wise compared to a prototype?
Sure. Well, I mean, there is a savings typically in the fee because you sort of skip that schematic design concept phase. The site design is brand new, right? So you're not really saving on that. The CA services are still the same amount of CA. So there is a savings. A lot will really depend on how much we have to change the prototype. And if the determination is made, we're going to do a completely different mechanical system from what the original prototype was. But there is a savings.
And both Catherine and I have been chairman of the board of architecture in North Carolina, and we can't talk, as Rod will tell you, we can't talk about fees today. But I think Catherine is right. There's a general savings with the use of a prototype, and that's why a lot of people do it.
So we say fall of 2022. How will you control that time frame so we stay on that finish schedule? Because obviously, if we got to open school, so we can't, we've got to stay on task. So I'm looking for examples of how will you stay on that schedule where you do things like fees for missed deadlines, liquidated damage clauses, anything of that nature. Kind of give us some details.
So we're going to rely on you as our partner, and we're going to set a schedule up that says we're going to be done with schematics on this date, and we're going to build in the approvals that you have to go through because we know you have to go through your boards. So we have to have a very detailed schedule that includes your meeting dates and just stick to it. And I will say we can go as fast as you can go. And typically, if we set a schedule, we're going to meet that schedule. The construction schedule, we're going to make sure we have adequate time to build it. This is a big school. It's not a 12-month elementary school because it's 100,000 square feet. It's going to be 17, 18 months, and that's why we're proposing the early site package. So we believe in meeting our deadlines, and we will meet our deadlines. But we need to make sure that we're going at a pace that works with you as well, because we know that you have your own internal approvals to go through.
I think also starting out with a realistic schedule and one that incorporates, you know, the different ways that we're going to have to work together with y'all, like Catherine said with those meetings. But in fact, we need to have a realistic schedule that we're monitoring at every step of the way. And that's how you don't get behind, because it's like, oh, well, we're going to make it up in construction documents. Well, that ain't going to happen, you know? And so we need to stay on that budget and stay on that schedule. And that's how this project will be a success.
Next question is kind of two parts. What part of your services do you expect to subcontract out? And have you used firms before that you would be using? And the second part would be, would you give any priority to firms where qualified that are local to this area?
So we will be covering architecture and interior design as part of our services and construction administration. We will be subbing out structural engineering, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, site design. And then we will also have a food service consultant on board as well to handle the cafeteria kitchen equipment. We will also have a cost estimator on board. We absolutely can look at local sub-consultants as well. You know, we obviously like to work with team members that we worked with before just because we have trust, but we have worked with many, many consultants across the state. So we certainly want to hear from you if there are any local firms that you feel would be appropriate for this project.
Can you give an example of a situation that went poorly with a client? How did you resolve it?
I'm behind you.
The best answer there is no.
I will say it had a really good outcome, but we did a high school, and I'm not going to name the client, and we came on board, and we had basically an 8-month schedule, 8 or 9 months to design the project, and there was some infighting within the school board, and they couldn't decide whether they were going to do it or not and what the site was. And so we got left with, at the end of the day, 3 months to design high school. And so, again, the outcome was good, but it was a very difficult situation for us because they needed the school and we wanted to get it open. And so it was a very tough summer for our staff. So I would say from our side, it was hard just because we didn't get decisions from the client. But again, at the end of the day, it was a good outcome. And I think that talks a lot about just how important it is that we work together as a team to meet that schedule.
we do a lot of repeat business, and we are not perfect. I will tell you, if you want a perfect architect, hire somebody else. It ain't us. We're gonna do everything we can to make this project a success, but I will tell you, I don't know what they are, but there's gonna be some kind of bump in the road. And we're gonna deal with that head on. We are going to make it work. And that's what we do. These folks behind me are problem solvers. And they solve things, you know, that they're the ones you get when nobody else can figure it out. And so, you know, I just believe in the team that we have, and I believe in the delivery schedule, and I believe that we can make this budget, but we're gonna have to work together to make sure that there isn't some standard that y'all got that's gotta mandate this, it costs more. And we're gonna have those discussions.
With the core design that you just put up and showed to us, is that design, does it have the ability of any future expansion, like additions onto that? What I'm looking for is if we, you know, as population grows, I don't want to have to come back and build a new building on the site, plus security. Another building a lot down. Can I add on to what you propose?
Yeah, we're gonna get back to, floor plan. Slowly. So I'll go to this one right here, and if you look at, the nice thing about this plan is you can see that we showed where there were classroom alternates, possibilities, a way again to make sure we hit the budget, but we can keep going off of those wings. The 4th and 5th grade wing you could keep adding to. You could also go to the front of the 2nd and 3rd wing and have another maybe 4 classrooms in that direction. The other nice thing about this core, again, I don't know if I can point with this or not, but you can see the cafeteria could be expanded to the front, the media center could be expanded, and the admin could be expanded. So that's why this plan has worked so well, is that there's so many directions that you can add on. The other little thing that you see here is these little connector pieces, and in some sites we've actually used those as what we're calling transition vestibules. So if we need to lower or raise the site, rather than spending a lot of money on dirt to get everything up to one level, we can drop one of these wings a couple of feet, 2 or 3 feet, and have a ramp system. Again, it saves a lot of money on the site costs. So that's why this has been such an incredibly flexible and great prototype for us, because it does, we've done it in so many configurations. This is actually a mirror image of the original design. We flipped it on the site because we felt it worked better.
Along those lines, one of the things we were taught always growing up is, one, know where the front door is. It doesn't just get designated by the flagpole, you know. 2 is know where you're going next, because I can't tell you how much work we've gotten because my grandfather dotted in 8 classrooms on a plan, and then they called us and said, hey, you already got it figured out. Well, can you come up there and help us? 3rd thing is be sure that you have a site that drains, a roof that doesn't leak, an HVAC system that works, and that you got enough area around the school for kids to play. So those are things that we have, very simple things we have learned over a long period of time.
Y'all talked about this quite a bit, but if you've got anything else you might want to add, what assurance can you give that your design will bring the project within the 20 million all-in budget that we have established?
Who wants to go?
Again, we're gonna be the tough guys. So we're gonna have to early on, as Paul said, if there's bad news, we're gonna deliver it early. We need your help in making some tough decisions about how big the school is and what the materials are, what the structural system is. So we can get this to 20 million, I will tell you that. But it's gonna mean choices. But we feel very confident. Again, we built some elementary schools recently that are in the $175, $180 square foot range. So we know we can do it. And we will present how we're gonna do it and from day one.
I was gonna add, you know, I take it on as a challenge. So I don't think inexpensive means you don't get a great school. You know, that's a challenge for me, and we can get creative about it. I think that's what we'll have to do to stay on budget.
Well, that's also why Catherine just blazed through those pictures of the interiors of this, because the interior is really where the kids are. This building was born to be a sister school to Red Oak, so we're going to make it, the architecture is going to be compatible with the existing school that's there. We're not going to come in with some wacky design that, you know, has a bunch of angles and stuff. You know, because you can't, at the end of the day, you won't build that for 20 million. We know that going into this, and that's something that we're really serious about, is staying in that budget.
Thank you. I also know we can't talk about fees today, but I've got one question that I hope Rod doesn't think you're talking about fees. What is the lowest fee that you have offered in the past for a similar project of this nature, say in the last 15 years?
So Robbie, I honestly do think that is a question that's not fair under the current statute, if you don't mind.
Well, I do mind, but I'm gonna have to listen to you, Rod.
Well, we listen to you too, Rod.
Well, thank you very much.
And we appreciate the guidance that you always give you. All I can tell you is in 40 years of doing this, I have never failed to work out a fee. And Rod has done a bunch of those contracts with us, and he's always been fair. And I would expect no different with this.
I can certainly say that that is true. We've never had an issue getting to a fee with LS3P.
I appreciate that. And I think the last question we have, and we may have some follow-ups from these people or possibly people that are tuning in. And you touched on this also, which I'm glad you did. What is your experience in utilizing a pre-engineered structural system and a standing seam metal roof with a simple saver installation method to build a school of this nature?
Yes, we've done that a number of times. And again, I referenced the KIPP school as one, but the Glow Academy that we just showed was a pre-engineered metal building structure with the insulation system that you're referencing. Yes, yeah. We'd love to show you that school. I mean, it's like I said, it's amazing what we've been able to do with that architecturally to make it just a beautiful design, but using pre-engineered metal buildings.
And I'm doing one right now. We actually, in Brunswick County, it's at the, I won't say the place, but we started out with a masonry, just typical masonry, metal standing seam building. We were high. And so I went back with, it was a CM at risk, and we ended up going to a pre-engineered building, saved about $300,000. So we could turn those drawings around fairly quickly to go from that to a pre-engineered building. That one is just about to go out to bid.
So y'all are not the only people looking at this and looking at costs. And, you know, it's your responsibility. And that's the natural tension between the commissioners and the school board, is the cost of stuff, you know, all over. And so that's a difficult thing, but working together, we can all come up with something that we'll all be proud of.
I actually forgot y'all did KIPP schools. I remember when you started talking about, which of course part of that we did for y'all, so I remember that now. Chris?
So I guess to be fair, we've asked you a lot of questions. Do you have any questions for us?
Well, I do.
I won't say it. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you were just kidding.
Yeah, I was just kidding.
No, when can we get started?
Can I get back with you on that?
You can, you can. And
That's some dynamics of, I don't know that we're at that yet.
okay.
Honestly.
That's a fair question.
Yeah, we're not at that point yet. So once, you know, obviously we've got to talk to all of you guys today
Yes.
and make a recommendation to our board.
And y'all are interviewing a lot.
We would bounce that question back to the county.
And I would add to that, of course, we are one of the fortunate counties that got part of the lottery funding, $10 million. And it's been a while since we got it. And for commissioners are very nervous about getting that money spent, to be honest with you.
Right.
But on the other hand, committed, right, exactly. Because I know how things work sometimes when money lays around too long.
Especially right now.
Especially right now, this has made our board even more nervous because of the crisis or what we're going through right now and the need for funds to help the people throughout the state. But with that said, it is a school board decision. Of course, they build schools, we fund schools, but in this case, we hope to work together, which we are doing here today, to get it done within budget. It is a key piece to, I think, the school board as well as the board of commissioners, simply because we know what money we have available. And when you get, it sounds like when you get a $10 million grant, you get given $10 million, but most people don't understand they take the lottery from you for the 5-year period. So it's much less than that, more like a $5 million grant. Either way, it is certainly intent of the board of commissioners to move forward with this as practical as we can. And of course, with the guidance from the school board, because we're only funding the project.
Yes, sir. And there is additional money in the budget for you guys. If the state budget were to pass, there's a certain amount that you would get. That would also help you, but we're not sure how that's going to go. And the only reason I ask is that right now, 2020 is not getting further away. And you can see on our schedule how that, we've been realistic and we've been honest with you about that. And so every month right now is a huge difference for that contractor that's going to be building this thing and under the gun. And there's going to be weather, there's going to be something, I don't know what it is, but we're going to have to work through all those things. And so my plea to you is to resolve those issues as quickly as you can to get this thing moving forward. And because every month is a real thing on this project.
And we call them opportunities, not issues. And I do like the fact that you got to start construction in February, which is the prime month to start construction or to take bids on the construction project.
And to have the site work already done.
Exactly.
So anyway.
Good. Right. Anybody on the board need clarification on anything we've got so far? Dr. Ellis, you? Sure. Tremaine, have you got anybody that's chatted?
I don't have any questions at the moment from anybody.
No questions from any of the board members that are virtually remoted in?
I would like to ask if there's any commissioner that's has any questions.
Okay. I don't see anything, and I'll put them on.
If that, we will appreciate it.
I just wanted to say we left a flash drive with our presentation, so
That was my
back over again.
next.
Yes.
Will we be able to keep that?
It's right here. We can hang on to it. Yeah.
That was my last and final question. Can we have a copy of your presentation? So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you. So at this time, we have a little bit of a break. Our next firm will be in, I believe, at 10:50.
Thank you all for having us.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, we are live. We're live now.
If you guys want to come on up.
Yes, sir.
Height and Associates. And, tell you a little bit what we're here today. We'll go around the table. Anybody introduce themselves?
My name is Franklin Graham. I'm the National Rocky Mountain School Board Chair.
I'm here.
Visit.
They can't hear me. Okay.
Of the field school.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Oh, she on.
And I'm Robbie Davis. I'm Chair of the Nash County Board of Commissioners.
Wayne Outlaw, Vice Chair of the Nash County Board of Commissioners.
Shannon Davis, Director of Maintenance, National Rocky Mountain Public Schools.
Steve Ellis, Superintendent.
Nice to meet all of y'all, and thank you very much for shortlisting us and asking for an interview. We feel like we've got some good information to share with you. I've got with me Wilson Pugh, who's been our mechanical electrical engineer for a number of years and done several dozen school projects with us.
So what we'll do is we'll start off.
Yes, sir.
And give you those, up to 15 minutes.
Yes, sir.
For the two questions that we gave you. If you need less than 15 minutes, you'll get back. We appreciate it. We'll use it.
Yes, sir.
And then once we finish the 15 minutes, we'll start a barrage of questions that will come around in here, and we'll stick tight and firm our 1 hour schedule.
Yes, sir.
You ready?
Yes, sir, I am. I'm gonna take about 2 or 3 minutes and try and explain to you why we're different. We are, this is my clip. This way? Okay. We are K-12 architects, planners and designers. Okay, it's a little slow. We have the experience that you need. We have a unique approach to school design. It's different. It's a systems approach. It's not just a full plan. It's a prototype system. And I'm going to show you why that's a little different. We're expert in execution and delivery of school facilities. This is a system we developed over 25 years of experience with schools. And what it is, it's a series of principles. 50 new schools, dozens of additions to schools. It's a set of principles that we use on all our designs. Doesn't matter what the educational program is. It's shape, pitched roofs with overhangs, and platform technology. Really simple stuff. It is not, it's not esoteric in any way. Shape, we know that simple rectangular shapes cost less to build. They save time and money. Pitched roofs with overhangs, they protect the walls from weather and they don't leak. They're designed to last the life of the building, and no roof mounted equipment is allowed on our designs. Wide overhangs provide solar shading. Rainwater is directed away from the building. 90-some% of all building problems have to do with water infiltration, and our system solves that. The third principle is platform technology. We use this with all our school projects. It allows building systems to be modified, added to, and replaced with minimal cost or disruption. And you can see the platform over the hallways. I'll show you a different picture of that. This is a typical school with the roof off of it, so you can see the corridors are in yellow and all the equipment is up there. There's space for all the utility systems, and it's always accessible for maintenance. Those concrete platforms also save significant amount of money in steel cost because they act as lateral beams to brace the structure. They're also the safest place underneath in those hallways for kids and staff to be in a weather emergency. There's room to work away from school operations for maintenance personnel. It's ease of access. And we found that during construction, there's room to build, saves time. They can finish downstairs and complete mechanical and electrical work upstairs. People stay out of each other's way. They future-proof your school so that you can change things as the years go by with minimal cost of disruption. So we say that our schools have the ability to remain state of the art. So these three things that we've proven over the last 25 years, that the way you design a school, not just a floor plan, saves you significant cost and time. There's some energy savings. You know, we're all into energy savings. We do all the latest things. But let me give you some information before I show you our proposed design solution to prove the point about cost. So a few examples. In 2013, we built a high school for Berkeley County for $134 a square foot, 18.3% less than the state average. Two years later, we built a middle for 13.2% less than the state average. Last year, we just completed this a couple of weeks ago. We did a 40,000 square foot addition to one of our high schools, very close by in Corinth Holders, for $154 a square foot. Now, the latest project that we bid was 3 weeks ago, and it's close by near Clayton. It was $213 a square foot, including all site work and road improvements. That's 15% less than current bids that were recorded this year by DPI. Now, 15% with this kind of project, that's over $3 million. And I think that's key to getting your project in the budget. So, number one, the way we design it saves you significant cost and time. And number two, our principles allow you to use the highest quality materials, the best roofing systems and wall systems, and the best HVAC systems, and still save you money. So that's really the point. I think anybody can give you a cheap school, but we can give you a high quality school for less money. And there's no sacrifice in quality in any of our schools, even though they're lowering costs significantly. So we can get to the point. Okay. The project that's proposed for Red, as we understand it, is very similar to the project we did for Clayton County several years ago, where we replaced the existing Havelock Elementary School. And what we did the same thing as we're getting ready to show you in our proposal, is that we built a school behind it. This is a construction shop overhead, while the existing school stayed in operation. You can see the existing school to the south and the new construction building pad being prepared just to the north of it. So then this is what we built. And obviously we take down the old school and build parking lots in front when the new school is completed. And that's a summertime thing, the demo and reconstruction of parking lots. And that's the finished product. You may have seen it. It's right off of Highway 70 as you go through Havelock. So let's take a look at Red Oak. The existing site, Google image. These slides are very large, so it takes a while. This would be our new proposal. This is the site. You can see a new school built behind. It's 1 story. It is 873 capacity, according to DPI guidelines. The existing gym is there to the left as part of new construction. And this would be during construction. Parking lot just to the north of the existing school, actually it would be the south, north is down, is still maintained, operational. And then, of course, during the summertime, school break, the old building comes down, the bus and automobile parking are constructed, and the new school opens. And you can see the driveway, there's automobile queuing going around in a counterclockwise direction, dropping off towards the right-hand side of that covered walk, and then buses circulate on the left-hand side. And there's specialized playgrounds for each age group. And we can take a closer look at that, with the floor plan, which is the next slide. So you can see the different grade levels and how the school lays out. The main entrance, media center, and admin are inside the front door. That's a security corridor that you can see just inside the front door where you're checked in. And then the long left to right corridor feeds to the different classroom wings. We've got pre-K to the left, close by kitchen and dining. The gym connects. And in kindergarten and first grade is the long wing that runs up and down. The next wing is second and third grade, and fourth and fifth goes off to the right. The SP, or special populations classrooms, are there in the center. There are 3 of those. There are resource rooms scattered around. There are teacher planning rooms. There are 3 of those. Music and art is between the existing gym and the media. So we feel like the school is laid out very well. There's actually a cross corridor between those 2 classroom wings that run up and down through left to right directly to the dining room. In a middle school in Lee County, a very similar configuration, and it works very well. So I did want to prepare a slide to show you how the utility platform technology would work with this school. So the gray area would be concrete platforms above the hallways. Again, adding that structural strength and giving you space for all the mechanicals. We've actually indicated those on there. We would propose here a VRF system, which I understand that you use currently, the new technology. And there would be outside air units at the ends of the hallways, one in the middle between the media and the admin, outside units at each wing, and on the platform, individual air handling units for each space. So each space has its own thermostat, has its own unit. And to sum up this presentation, I've got a couple of slides that talk about cost. So I'm going to show you a calculation and show you how we arrive at our figure estimate for this school today. So I told you 3 weeks ago, Thanksgiving Elementary nearby Clayton came in at $213 a square foot. Okay, now we're going to do some offsets. Reduce site work costs. That school is 40-some acre site. This is far less than that. It's got a lot of cut and fill. This site has very little of that. So easily $10 a square foot is taken off that $213. We add back demolition costs, $350, and then we use a boiler chiller ice storage system in Johnson County. Here you use VRF. My conversations with our contractor who's doing Thanksgiving estimates about $6 a square foot less for VRF than pour pipe. So that comes to roughly $200 per square foot for your school today. And what we've done is it's 96,000 square feet. It's $19,248,000. And you wanted the fees added at 6%, that's 1.15 million. So you end up with a total of $20,402,880, which is $400,000 more than your budget. Last slide. So this cost estimate is very close. It's well within the margin of estimating for a large construction project. It's based on the best information available to you at this time. Market conditions at the time of bid and competition will determine the actual cost. I need to tell you that people like to bid our projects. We have a lot of competition. Our bids for Thanksgiving, we had 6 bidders. It's a big job, and there was no more than $1 million difference between the low bid and the high bid. Bids were very close. And the third point, if bid costs exceeds the budget, there are a number of items that can be revised to meet the budget. We recommend these items be incorporated as bid alternates to include with the original contractor bids. This is a cost and time effective way to get the best prices in a competitive environment. In other words, what we are trying to do is value engineer the project before it's bid. That way you're not working with one contractor, you're working with all of them. The bottom line is that Height Associates can and will commit to meeting your budget for this project through bid alternates or any revisions or redesign necessary. And that's our presentation.
So we will start off with our questions that I just asked to make sure this is virtual, so you stay in front of our camera.
Yes, sir.
And you're speaking to the mics of all of
Yes, sir.
our partners out there in the virtual world here. We'll start with Shannon first.
What's your estimated timetable for this project from start to finish?
Well, we would probably need about 4 months to do the plans. They'll take another month or 2 for agency approvals and bidding. The construction time for this project would probably be around 15 months. And so if you add that up, that's not quite 2 years. It's a little over a year and a half.
So, Mr. Hyde, does your firm provide services that would help us as the school system decide on those educational and other spaces kind of relate to the DPI space profiles? If yes, is that any additional cost to help us in that design phase?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we're coming to you with tremendous, I've got 40 years of experience in school design. Probably as much individual experience because, I'm not the senior marketing guy. I'm the design guy. I'm into it every day. We work with several districts. So I've got a lot of things that I can bring to your staff, our experience, combined with what it is that you want the facility to be. We give you a great design solution, and no, there's no charge for it. That's part of what we do.
What is the top 2 or 3 most difficult issues you expect to deal with if you are selected for this project?
Well, difficult issues in the school business usually are site related with agencies, DEQ and DENR issues. We have a great engineering firm that helps us with those. Construction issues depend on the contractor. Sometimes we have a tough time, sometimes we have an easy time, but we're prepared for anything. And we've been through most any sort of situation. I guess the third thing in the school business is where you're doing a restoration of a facility, a heavy renovation that's got to be phased and it's occupied at the same time. And we've done some of those too. those are the most difficult issues that we deal with.
That would be typical of what you do for this project too.
No, I mean, we know the rules that we're under for stormwater and water quality here in Nash County. They're managed by a consulting firm, and we've worked with that firm before. They represent the county, and we know what we need to do, so we would work through that process. There really is no renovation other than what you would determine would need to be done with the existing gym. And we don't know about the contractor. We hope we get a good one. And we are team players. I mean, we all start the project as a team, and we've always done that. And we're not the ones that break the team up, I'll tell you that. But sometimes there are issues with construction, but I guarantee you if we have done it before, and we could do it again.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
You've already mentioned that your team does have experience with the VRF mechanical systems. Can you elaborate a little bit on the VRF and how you would fit it with this particular prototype?
Right. I showed the utility plan, and I showed a layout. And if I might, would ask Wilson Pugh, our mechanical engineer, to address
that. Yes, Shannon. We've done several projects with VRF in several different school systems across the state. We've done some here in Nash County. We've just recently completed a 200-ton VRF system up in Elizabeth City, where we replaced a water source heat pump system that was going to be more expensive to replace, to try and repair, than it was to do this. And the way that we would see this working is we kind of estimated that it would be somewhere between 240 to 270 tons worth of refrigeration for this job. And we would utilize the heat recovery type so that we can simultaneously heat and cool in different classrooms. And as Jimmy had indicated, each classroom would have its own air handler, have its own thermostat, and they would be accessed from the platform above. And each wing would end up having one or two of the variable speed compressors outside. We also, because outside air used to be an issue with some of the VRF and it's required for the code, we would end up, as Jimmy had indicated on the drawings, having some fresh air units that would be solely dedicated to providing fresh air for each wing. And through that, the individual classroom units would not have any fresh air going to them. So that kind of helps with your maintenance as far as those units. And from a control standpoint and how we would operate those, we've worked with you guys on work that you guys do versus work that we have done via a contractor. And as I understand, you guys are also on Schneider controls, and we've worked well with Schneider at several other counties. So I think overall, we would be well positioned to deal with all of those and have the experience in doing both small systems all the way down to 12-ton type systems all the way up to, like I said, we just did a 200-ton system in Elizabeth City.
So you kind of piggyback when either one of those. I think you've done a good job of maybe answering this on how do you determine costs in your slide. I think you showed that. What is your cost control? How do you control that estimate to stay in there, what you showed in this slide?
The thing that I like to impress on you all is that we rely on this systems approach to school design. Our details are consistent. Our designs are consistent. The floor plans are always different, but the design of the buildings are consistent, and we have found that we can rely on our historical data, projects that we have done in the past and through the years to project future costs. And those projections are typically very accurate.
Jimmy, how do you handle your firm handle the construction administration aspect of a project like this, and I'd like to have as much detail, number of times through the site and that kind of stuff. Is it in-house or is it also a subcontractor to you?
Yes, sir. We have an employee in the firm, Robert Edmondson. He's been with us for 20-some years. He is a full-time construction inspector. He's on the job at least once a week, all the way through the project. It gives you a written report with photographs every week, there or more. If there's an issue that we've got to deal with, he might be there 3 or 4 times a week. But we, one of the attributes of our firm is that we really take care and close watch these projects under construction, because we know that if we don't, it's a problem. And I'm not, we work with some great contractors, and they appreciate that fact that we're, and I'm doing work in the office every day. I'm always there at least once a month for monthly meetings, and we do that each month to make sure that the progress stays on track. If it's not, what have we got to do to catch it up? So construction administration, if you check any of our references, I think they'll tell you that we do a very good and closely watched job on all of our projects.
Thank you.
As far as fee, I know we're not supposed to talk about fees, but can you give us any possible feedback from using a prototype versus a new design as far as the cost savings and the possibility of the savings?
The potential is there. We have a prototype system. If you were going to do a duplicate design, I think that's where the savings would be. If it's not a duplicate design, the savings would not be there. But 6% is what we charge for new schools. We're saving you 15%. So, but no, that's what we feel is a fair and reasonable fee for a project of this magnitude and complexity.
So you said 15 months, I believe earlier, 15 months what you estimated as a build time. So how would you control that time frame to stay on schedule? Would you recommend liquidation damages clauses or lateness fees to our pre-construction, whatever? Tell me how you would stay on schedule.
Well, we require that the contract prepare within 20 days a critical path method schedule that we all approve and we all sign. It becomes part of the contract. So it's a contractual obligation, not just the calendar days that are specified in the project, but his schedule becomes part of it. Liquidated damages are always specified, and our specifications provide for the assessment of those liquidated damages when the delay occurs. So we don't wait until the end of the project. So we get their attention when the problem arises, and they have to catch the schedule back up. Normal weather delays are not accepted. A catastrophic situation would be accepted. Any delays caused by the owner, and we protect you against that, are accepted. But I think we've got a great track record. We never had a project delivered late except for one, which was HP Sugg Elementary in Farmville, and that was due to Hurricane Floyd, which flooded us out for a month. And they were late, that we occupied at Christmas instead of in August.
Never had a project late except for that?
No, sir, not except for that.
Jimmy, what parts of your service in your firm do you do with subcontractors? And have you worked with those firms before that you utilize? And the second part of it, would you give any prior firms, any priority to firms where they're qualified that are local to this area?
We use consultants for civil engineering, for mechanical and electrical engineering. You met Mr. Pugh, and structural engineering. We have used these same consultants for a long period of time, many years. And they know how we work. We will continue to use them. Now, any local consultants, such as surveyors, testing companies, anything that we could possibly employ local people for, we absolutely would do. And we look for that. We search for that.
Okay, thank you. Can you give an example of a situation that went poorly with a client and how did you resolve it?
No, sir, I can't. And I'm sorry, but I can't recall any. And I'm happy to give you a list of everybody we've ever worked for. You can call them all if you want to, but I can't recall an issue, you know, or a disagreement or anything that was not resolved immediately.
So with that core that you, okay, so with the core that you put up, is there room for future expansion to that existing footprint? If population was to grow and our numbers went up, I'm looking for the question. We add on to that building without having to build a.
Let's take a look at it. Here you are with that plan. To answer your question, the 4th and 5th grade classroom, there's room for 4 more classrooms on one end. It looks like there's probably room for 2 at the end of the short classroom wing that's going up and down on the screen, 3rd grade. Obviously, there is playground space that you could utilize. The question is, how much would you want to expand it? I think you could certainly expand it by half a dozen classrooms if you needed to. Beyond that, or if you think that, you know, potential might be in the future, you could look at a 2-story plan. And I think the initial proposal, you know, that was quite a bit expandable was 2 stories. And I mean, I'm not a fan of 2-story elementary schools, but we have done them. We just finished a really nice school in Lee County on a national historic site. It was 2 stories, and they like it. But all of the elementary were done at 1 story.
Mr. Todd, when you talked about staying in our budget to begin with, the numbers were pretty close to what our budget are already.
Yes.
What assurance can you give us that your design will bring the project within our all-in $20 million budget?
We will design it within your $20 million budget, no matter what we have to do. You know, we do utilize a strategy of value engineering before the bid. So we want to give as many advantages to you before we bid the project, options that you can take or not take to get the cost where you want it to be. Beyond that, if it's still over the budget, we will redesign, we will revise, we will do whatever you need us to do at no additional charge to meet your budget. Your budget is your budget.
Okay, thank you. You have given us the fee that you charge
Yes.
to do a job, which is unusual that an architect would do that up front, I would say. In that fee, I guess everything you've been talking about today is included in that, which is construction administration and all.
Yes, sir. Okay. It's all inclusive. Sometimes our consultant fees are more or less, you know, civil engineering is now a lot more than it used to be. But over the years, with all of our clients, we try to be consistent. You know, we've done 23 schools for Johnson County. and we charge him 6%. For new schools, for high schools, it's 5%. For renovations and additions, it's 7%. And we want to be consistent and be fair and ethical across the board with the districts that we serve.
All right, we really, as you know, not supposed to address that a whole lot. So
I understand why, but I don't mind telling you. I'll tell anybody.
Very important question to some of us, and I will say me, you've been in the construction business. What is your experience utilizing a pre-engineered structural system and a standing seam metal roof with a simple saver insulation method to help meet a budget that we have, which we realize is a pretty tight budget? Just your thoughts on that.
We have done a lot of that. We have done 2 complete new schools that way. Pamlico Primary in Pamlico County and Wintergreen Intermediate in Pitt County. There are pros and cons to that. I would have to say there's a lot of underground stuff that goes on with schools. And as you know, if you're familiar with pre-engineered, those foundations and floor slabs are typically to save the money. You know, part of the economy is that pouring the foundations and floor slabs together is part of the economy. It's tough with as many pipes and wires and things like that schools have to get that done as efficiently as, for example, a warehouse, which is probably pre-engineered the way to go. We all know that for utility buildings and things like that. We looked at the cost at that time. The fact that we are so focused on efficiency with the conventional steel frame design, with using the same shapes as you would as pre-engineered, and the fact that we're using open web bar joists, which are a very lightweight way to provide the steel structure, and eliminating a lot of the steel by use of our platforms, which give us the lateral wind resistance. I mean, the cost we found in comparing the two schools with the pre-engineers is about the same.
The 2 that you did that way, what made you utilize it on those? I guess I would wonder.
Because we wanted to see, and we made the assumption that we would save money.
Thank you.
And we did save money.
You did save money.
We did save money.
Just to clarify one thing, I may have missed if I was writing those. That price that you gave us, that 2.4, does that include demolition of the existing? I believe it did.
Yes, okay. Yes, we included, I think $3.50 or $250,000, $300,000 to do the demolition of the others.
In fairness, we've asked you a lot of questions. Do you have any questions for us?
Well, no, I don't. But again, we really appreciate you inviting us to come talk to you. We feel like we've got a story that needs to get out the way we do schools. We know taxpayer dollars are important to everybody, and we want to make sure that we're, we like to feel like we're stewards of taxpayer money. And that's our philosophy, the design philosophy of our firm, and that's where we've operated, and we've been very successful.
Anyone have full Tremaine? Have you got anything?
I have nothing from the board.
No,
I'd just like to make sure with my commissioners that are online, if you've got any questions, this is the time for them to be asking it. If you don't have any, Tremaine, that's fine.
Okay, I don't have any.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm impressed by what I've seen. I want to know how many employees do you have in your company overall, and how diverse? Do you have women and people of color included in your staffing?
We have nine people on our staff, no people of color.
Thank you.
She asked about female too.
Oh, we have 2 female, sorry.
Any other questions? Okay, we appreciate it.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So gentlemen, we are about 6 minutes ahead of schedule on that. So once again, we'll recess and we'll be back at 11:15. Okay. Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, Chris, isn't it noon?
Say again?
I think, isn't it noon? Don't we reconvene at noon?
Excuse me, 12 noon. I was thinking our next item is 11:15, it's lunch.
Correct. Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Rod.
All right. Hold up. There we go. Stop video.